I cannot count the amount of times that people or students have asked our team or myself about advanced tutorials. Where are the advanced tutorials? Give me more advanced tutorials. And in this video, I want to explain to you why I think there is a thin line between what is actually considered something advanced in terms of techniques or principles and what artists or students often actually refers to, which in many cases deters them from actually progressing. Now, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Antonio. I've been a professional concept artist in the game and film industry for over 8 years, ran my own studio, and I've built Artwod, basically the only app in the world right now where you can learn and draw at the same time in a proper fashion and get you the full digital experience of learning how to draw. With that said, I want to get into the fact that a lot of students, especially beginners, often want to have more advanced stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but usually the thing that they're referring to is teach me how to do the thing in the way that you do the thing. This will often deter you from focusing on the thing that you need to focus on in your journey towards understanding anything. And this is not only when it comes to art, this is basically when it comes to trying to learn anything, whether you're trying to play an instrument, whether you're trying to learn how to cook, whether you're trying to run a business, whether you're trying to become good at a certain sport. It doesn't really matter what it is. Like, there's a lot of different fundamental aspects that you need to learn and understand in order to get good at the thing you want to get good at. And often it feels like if I can get my hands on that advanced tutorial, that advanced little secret piece of information that not everyone is getting, then I'll get there faster. And this is actually like the wrong frame of mind. And the way I want to explain this is I'll let you know the way I think about advanced is, let's say we have a fundamental, right? We have a fundamental building block, right? Something you need to master in order to better understand how to learn how to draw, how to learn how to paint, how to learn how to run a business, how to learn how to cook something, whatever it is, right? There's one piece of fundamental information. Now, a lot of the times, what beginner tutorials are is they focus on that one particular fundamental. Good beginner tutorials, okay? They focus on that one specific thing. And like I said, in the aspect of the theory of constraints is usually other things might not even be fundamentals, but just other subject matters or whatever it is, are subjugated to that one fundamental understanding so that you can really focus on just understanding this better. So let's say it's perspective, right? It's understanding figures in perspective, understanding boxes in perspective, understanding environments in perspective. So everything is subjugated to that one fundamental skill. Now, the more advanced a tutorial becomes, the more amounts of fundamental building blocks we can juggle together. All right, and this is when I refer to when you're starting to learn how to draw, all you're doing, basically when you start to learn how to do anything, all you're doing is you're learning how to juggle one thing, right? And it is two things, and it is three, and it is four, right? And this is always the case. And when you start getting to a professional level, what you're actually doing is you're juggling a whole lot of different things at the same time. But because you have this aspect of what I call compounded knowledge, so you don't have to think about every individual fundamental. You can just basically compound a lot of information into one piece of information and then juggle that. And this is how you get advanced to a very proficient level. It doesn't have to be professional, because professional just, to some degree, it means you get paid for it. There's other definitions I have for it, but to some degree, right, you get paid for what you do. But there are hobbyist artists, or a lot of you that want to make your own comics, or you would just want to get very good at art. You can get to a professional level or a very proficient level by this exact definition and this technique. Now, before you do anything else, make sure that you click the link in the description and get our free ebook. This book is absolutely fantastic. Some of you won't even understand why it's free. We didn't need to make it for free, but we wanted to make it for free for several reasons. But one of the main reasons we wanted to make it for free is, one, it's accessible, and it just gets everyone that uses the book and reads the book gets an insight into actually how we teach, our unique teaching philosophy at Artwod. It gives you an insight into primarily what you'll be learning in our Artwod Beginner Road and applying, and it will give you these aha moments into how we at Artwod make you intuitive at perspective and how we really help you better to draw from imagination in a very approachable manner. So you'll get these aha moments of why we teach this philosophy, especially our staple unique approach to form manipulation that you won't learn anywhere else, on how to really look at form, how to be able to manipulate form that then turns into actual believable things that you can draw from imagination. We've supplemented some of our YouTube videos where you can go watch how we use these methods and principles and then create cool things. You'll get a really good insight into our beginner road and how to understand better what it takes to draw from imagination. And that, I think, we've done such a good job with this book. And you can get it for free, all right? Like I said, we don't need to make money from this book. I naturally believe that all the value you get from this book, you're going to want to practice that, and that will lead you to Artwod anyway. We sort of want to unveil some of the secrets we have at Artwod on how to better get people into learning to draw from imagination. That's what this book is for. That will naturally kind of give you a hunger to do more, as it should, because drawing is awesome, especially when you can do it from imagination. Click the link in the description, get this book. It's truly awesome, and it's free. However, this is a sort of a good definition of what I would consider advanced things. What a lot of beginners or students often refer to is, give me a tutorial where I can follow step by step how you get from point A to point B, right? What is Antonio's way of doing things? And this will often distract you from actually learning the thing you need to learn. And there's a ton of tutorials online that are exactly like this. And there's a ton of online schools that are exactly like this. What they actually give is tutorials on the way of doing things of artist X, right? So you're going in there, and what you're learning to do is you're learning to become a copycat of that artist. And while that artist might make those tutorials in good intention, it often doesn't help or serve you, especially if you have like another goal in mind, or you just want to be able to create art differently yourself. And this is why I'm such a big proponent of learning the fundamentals and nothing else. And I've said this many times when I was mentoring people or when I in classrooms, is what artists, when they begin, what they think about is, if I copy the process of an artist, I will naturally learn fundamental skills and get better, right? They think that through copying, they'll get good at fundamentals. And what I teach is the exact opposite. I teach a lot of fundamentals, like a lot of them, that you get to understand so that you can copy whoever you want. You can copy whichever artist. This is what makes me pretty proficient at copying a Leyendecker, or copying Kim Young-gi, or copying Karl Kapinski, or, copying Sargent. It doesn't really matter what master it is, what current day master, what old master it is, doesn't really matter. Because I have a good understanding of fundamentals, I can copy them convincingly without the need of copying their process. And this is what often when artists and students ask for advanced tutorials, what they're begging for is the process video, but what they need is just more fundamental application. And so you can learn so much by just doing more of singular fundamental things and then slowly trying to combine them, instead of binge watching a lot of process videos and not really getting enough information or enough fundamental skills out of them. And to give you a more practical example that maybe relates more to business, because I like business. So let's say you want to attain to the level of like Sketch Studio or whatever studio, right? You want to also build that studio. And what you're then doing is like, okay, they work with a company like Sony. So then you're like, oh, I need to be in the process of landing a client like Sony to be at the same level. So this is that reverse thinking that is focused on a result and not the actual fundamental things you need to understand in order to land a client like Sony. So it's a completely different thing, and I hope you can see where I'm going with this. Instead of starting from a result and then looking at the process a certain company does in order to get that result, what you need to understand is the fundamentals of doing business. And the fundamentals of doing business is one, having talent in your company that can produce certain results, that have certain fundamental skills that you need to acquire certain clients. But that's like one piece of the puzzle. Then you need to understand how to do acquisition. You need to understand how to do sales, how to do conversion, how to do delivery. You need to understand a million different things when you want to get into business. And so the clients will sort of come naturally. They're a byproduct. The clients are a byproduct of having all of these fundamental systems in place. It's the same thing with another outsourced studio that, like, let's say that outsourced studio works for Riot. A lot of people will be like, okay, so if we start a studio, then we need to copy these exact processes that this company does so that we can also land a company like Riot. But what you maybe not see behind the scenes is that the founder of that company has worked at Riot, or they have like really good ties with Riot, or they understand networking fantastically. And so you're focused on this superficial aspect of doing a process, where in reality, all you would need to focus on is fundamental understanding. Because if you have all of this fundamental understanding and you can compound it, you can be creative with it and you can create your own process. And even then, when you look at a tutorial of a process of an artist, you don't have the need to copy it verbatim. You understand the process, you understand the underlying thinking behind the process. So you can sort of unveil the curtain, the magic trick. You can see past it and understand what is actually important instead of trying to copy someone's process. And so I see this all the time in online schools that, well, one, tutors and artists are selling their process. They're not really teaching fundamentals. But more importantly, you as students and you as aspiring artists that want to get a result, you're way too hyper focused on the advanced tutorial, because what the advanced tutorial has that fundamentals don't have is fundamentals don't look sexy. They look boring. Applying perspective, doing composition studies, doing value studies, doing color and light thumbnails. They're boring processes sometimes. They're not sexy. They're boring, but they're so much better and valuable for you than doing that one tutorial where you follow it verbatim and getting that cool 3D Blender rendered kind of castle on the landscape for a millionth time like everyone else is, because you haven't really learned anything, or not enough. You haven't learned enough. You've learned a certain process. You've copied someone else's Blender sort of tutorials and add-ons, and that's all you did. Whereas if you create fundamental understanding of something, you can look past all of that process. You can still do those tutorials, by the way, but you'll do them with a completely different mindset. You'll do them with understanding. You won't do them just to copy them. And that's what I wanted to sort of allude to and get to in this video, that you start to understand that. So this, one of the main reasons I focus so much on fundamentals, and I feel like I'm living proof that that keeps working, because 80% of my time is doing fundamental stuff, whether it's for the content we make for Artwod, whether it's for these videos. Most of the time, I'm drawing cylinders and boxes in perspective. But by repeating that over and over and over, when I go to draw a character, I still have all of this fundamental knowledge that helps me so much. And ironically so, it actually helps me improve, because I keep applying the fundamentals instead of being hyper-focused on the cool, amazing details at the end. Sort of that 10% cherry on top that everyone wants to get to, that everyone wants a tutorial about, that really doesn't matter, because that 10%, that last 20% of a painting, that styling, that flavoring of a design or a painting, that is something that you fill in based on your preferences, based on your taste, and based on your understanding of fundamentals. Core message of this video: focus more on fundamentals. Don't focus too much on a process or someone else's way of doing things. Create your own way of doing things by understanding the fundamental principles. All right, as always, happy drawing, and I'll see you in the next one.